Maya was 35 years old and lived a life full of control. Mornings started with a simple cup of coffee, jotting down her day's plans in a brown notebook, and preparing for work with her deep-focused playlist on Spotify, for her order was a refuge. She compartmentalized her emotions like files, quietly carrying her burdens alone. But that night, at 3:17 a.m., a phone call shattered everything forever. We lost Leo, her brother, her only friend, the one who always made her feel safe just by being there. He was gone. A car accident. Suddenly, without even a goodbye, Maya's orderly world collapsed. Something inside her broke, without a sound. She didn't cry that first night. Only. Her hands trembled. The following days were stranger still. She forgot to eat. Replying to an email felt like climbing Everest. People's "I'm sorry for your loss" echoed as muffled hums in her ears. The ticking clock at home became unbearable. Maya's apartment turned into a museum, a place preserving memories of a life frozen in time. One morning she woke up to find all her belongings covered with a blanket. She didn't remember doing it. Days went by and she stopped looking into the mirror. At night, she'd sit in the dark, staring at the ceiling for hours. The armchair seemed to pull her in, slowly suffocating her breath. Even her therapist felt helpless. She said to Maya, "You don't have to speak, Maya. Sometimes we just need another living being to breathe alongside us. Maybe a plant, but better yet, an animal, because animals don't judge, they share your silence with understanding." That advice echoed inside Maya. At first, she resisted. But then, one morning she looked out the window and thought, "I can't keep living like this." That day, without a plan, she left the house. For the first time in months, her feet led her unknowingly to a pet shop. The store was bustling. Colorful fish, playful kittens, dogs jumping by the window. ... But Maya's eyes were drawn to a quiet corner, a dark cage. Inside, a worn-out parrot with gray-blue feathers, motionless, silent, pale even. She stepped closer. The parrot locked eyes. With Maya, no movement, no chirp, just a gaze. A store employee approached. His name's Echo. He's forgotten how to talk. His previous owner kept him alone in darkness for years. Everyone looks at the colorful, lively parrots. Echo doesn't catch anyone's attention. Without thinking, Maya sat down on the floor. They held eye contact. Echo tilted his head slightly. Maya felt something deep inside. This bird is like me, silent, forgotten, but still here. She bought Echo. As she carried his box, she shivered slightly. For the first time, she touched something, felt a warmth. The first days were strange. Echo withdrew into his new cage. Maya didn't leave the couch. They spent hours in the same room doing nothing. Two lonely souls sharing one silence. Maya didn't speak to Echo. Echo didn't speak to her. But one night, she couldn't help but whisper, "I don't hear you, but I feel you." She thought the words disappeared into the void. But this time, the void echoed back. The next morning, Maya moved quietly in the kitchen. She turned on the kettle, placed a cup in the dim light. Then she heard a voice. "I feel." She froze. Echo had spoken 3 syllables, but it was a thunderous echo that shattered Maya's world. From that moment, Echo began to repeat Maya's words, but not randomly, only when Maya spoke her true feelings. "I'm not okay. Not okay. I'm lonely. Lonely. I lost myself." Lost. Echo had become Maya's inner voice, crying with her, carrying her pain. But Maya was no longer alone in her feelings. One morning, Maya looked in the mirror. She did something she hadn't done in a long time, brushed her hair, touched some color to her face. She wasn't a different person, but she was still someone just then. Echo whispered from behind, "You're beautiful." Maya sank to her knees. Tears flowed. But this time, not from pain. Echo's voice was like the only remaining echo of her brother. From that moment, Maya began to heal. Echo was no longer just a bird, but her companion in rebirth. Healing was quiet and slow, but each day with Echo opened a window in Maya's inner world. One morning, Maya drank her coffee on the balcony. For the first time, she listened to the sounds outside, children playing in the street, seagulls, the wind. Echo perched on her shoulder and quietly whispered, "You're back." That day, Maya visited Leo's grave for the first time in years. She brought flowers, tended the soil. Softly, she said, "I couldn't forgive you, not for leaving, but for leaving me like this. But now I understand. With your leaving, I had to find myself again." Echo landed on the gravestone. For the first time outside, he sang. His echo danced among the stones. Months later, Maya decided to find Echo's previous owner. With information from the pet store, she reached a small, abandoned seaside cottage. The house was silent, the door locked, but the mailbox was still. There, inside was an old letter. Faint handwriting read, "Your voice is still here." While looking around, Maya found a notebook. Echo's previous owner was an elderly writer. When his wife developed Alzheimer's, she stopped speaking. Echo stayed by her side in that silence, repeating her words, trying to keep her memory alive. Maya found one line that read, "Echo didn't just give me back my wife's voice. He gave me back life's voice. If one day he saves another heart, then I can go in peace." Maya covered her face with her hands. Echo wasn't just a bird. He was a vessel of voices, lives, and traumas. Just like Maya was no longer just a woman, but someone who could touch many lives. Maya no longer lived just for herself. She started a blog. She named it Echo's Diary. Her opening lines read, "Sometimes life shatters in an instant, but the voice of a bird, a breath, can make you reborn from the most unexpected place." Echo was no longer in a cage, but on Maya's shoulder. Together, they visited nursing homes and children's hospitals. Sometimes Echo spoke just one word, "I'm here." That word was enough to bring tears to the eyes of a child, a mother, an elder. A documentary filmmaker discovered Maya. They filmed her story with Echo. And what was the title? "Saving Him Saved My Life." And Maya looked into the camera and said, "I thought I saved him, but Echo gave me back not only my life, but my voice."